Here's what went down in the Diddy trial this week.
This is the start of the third week of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The latest witness on the stand today was Diddy's former employee, but it's not clear if she helped or hurt their argument.
Our Lisa Evers was in court today. One of Diddy's longtime aides, named Capricorn Clark, was also on this witness stand the whole day. Lisa, so explain who she is and how she was connected to Diddy.
Well, Bianca, Natasha, she did drop a few bombshells, one of them being revealed that before she worked for Diddy, before she started working for Diddy, Capricorn Clark worked for his arch nemesis, his arch rival, Suge Knight of Death Row Records. So her first week on the job with Diddy working at Bad Boy, she says that she was taken into the Central Park and Diddy talked to her, and so did the bodyguard, and basically threatened her that if she betrayed him in any kind of way, that they would kill her. She also testifies that not soon after she started working for him, she was accused of taking diamond jewelry from this bag that she was entrusted to carry, and that she was subjected to 5 days of being given lie detector tests in a warehouse by a burly man who said that if she failed the lie detector test, she would be thrown in the river. But then one of the other kidnapping attempts or kidnappings that she claimed happened to her is probably much more central to the current case, and that happened in December of 2011. She says Sean Combs came to her place where she was in Los Angeles at gunpoint, forced her into the car, said, "We're going to go over to Kid Cudi's house and kill him." This was after he learned of Cassie Ventura's dating and budding relationship, which really didn't get very far, with Kid Cudi. She says they went over to Kid Cudi's Los Angeles home, that Capricorn Clark waited in the car, that Diddy was inside with the bodyguards. They couldn't find Kid Cudi. She tipped off Kid Cudi that this was happening and that Diddy was threatening to kill him. So he did not, he was diverted. And then when Diddy tried to run out of there, got out of there, they saw that there were police officers rushing to Kid Cudi's house, and then that whole episode was aborted with nobody, thank God, being killed. But the use of force, the threatening with the gun, is very central to this whole case, especially to the racketeering charges and using force and coercion.
Right. So what did we learn from her about Diddy's personality, or even the way that he ran his businesses?
Well, I think it's, you mentioned running his businesses, and that's central to the whole case. It's central to them getting a guilty verdict on the racketeering. They have to show that his business enterprise was actually being used as a criminal enterprise to commit crime. So they really need to get some proof, because, some people are saying, well, the whole Kid Cudi episode, that's circumstantial evidence. We're going to hear tomorrow, according to prosecutors, from an LA fire department investigator, presumably about that arson on the Kid Cudi's vehicle, and then also from a Los Angeles police officer. Now, Kid Cudi testified last week that his first instinct after he saw what had happened to his car was to call Diddy and really have it out with him. Then he said he calmed himself down. Instead, he called LAPD, but he said that they really didn't seem to be following up. Now, we'll find out if there was any physical evidence. That's going to be a key thing here into closing that circle about Diddy with the alleged firebombing of Kid Cudi's car.
To another dramatic day in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. It had everything from a failed push for a mistrial from the defense to a celebrity stylist testifying about the bruises he saw on Cassie Ventura. Fox 8's Sharon Crowley is here with the latest. Sharon?
Yeah, Natasha, we're about 3 weeks in already. In a significant develop today, Sean Diddy Combs' lawyer is moving for a mistrial. They accuse prosecutors of trying to suggest that the music mogul had evidence linked to an arson incident destroyed. The judge quickly denying that bid and asking jurors to disregard testimony from a fire investigator. Rapper Kid Cudi testified last week. He believed that Combs was involved in 2 incidents. First, a break-in at his LA home, and a fire set inside his Porsche. Combs has denied being involved. An LAPD officer testifying that he saw a car near Cudi's house on the day of the break-in that was registered to Diddy's production company.
About 8 months after the firebombing of Kid Cudi's car, that the fingerprints that were recovered, the record of that was destroyed. So the concern from the defense was, well, you're just kind of assuming or alluding to the fact that it may have been Combs, who has long arms, to infiltrate law enforcement and destroy it. And they objected to that. And that's when the judge said, no, we can proceed, but jury, disregard what was said.
Well, prosecutors also questioned a former employee who claims Diddy forced himself on her sexually. She is using the alias Mia. The jury also hearing from stylist Deontay Nash, who worked with Diddy and Cassie Ventura. He says he helped Cassie hide from an enraged Combs. He also testified he saw Combs, quote, attack Cassie, hitting and kicking her until he said he saw blood and just panicked.
You have to look at Cassie, because she's the one who says, about the being forced and the coercion and the abuse that in and of itself may not be the crime, but builds up to the structure and the forced coercion and fraud for the trafficking.
And in another development, we learned today that Cassie gave birth to her third child in a New York hospital Tuesday. She, of course, is the prosecution's star witness, and she finished testifying, as you'll recall, earlier this month while visibly pregnant during some pretty emotional days on the stand. Now, Cassie testified about being beaten and raped by Combs, a man she said she once loved. Diddy has pled not guilty to all the charges, and his lawyers say that all encounters were consensual.
Well, it was another day of emotional testimony at the Sean Diddy Combs trial.
A former assistant identified only as Mia told jurors harrowing details about her time working for Combs, including claims of sexual assault. Fox 8's Lisa Evers joins us now from Lower Manhattan. Lisa, tell us more about what Mia had to say.
Well, Natasha and Bianca, very disturbing testimony by this ex-assistant of Diddy. She worked for him for a little bit over a decade, identified by the, by the name Mia in court, a pseudonym that she's using for her own security and privacy. Now, what she testified was to being a witness to more abuse by Diddy, more abuse of Cassie from Diddy, and also talking about what happened to her specifically, which was multiple times of sexual assaults by Diddy. She talked about one incident in particular where she was living in his house because he liked his assistance as in the house with him 24/7. She was in a bedroom. He told her that was her bedroom. He told her nobody locks the doors in my house. So she's asleep in an unlocked bedroom. She said she woke up in the middle of the night to feel a heavy weight on her, and it turned out to be Diddy, that he then proceeded to unzip his pants and then sexually assault her right there. Now, what was even more heartbreaking with this very disturbing story was that she said that she did not feel that she could call the police. She did not feel that calling the police in that situation was an option. And then the prosecutor asked her, because she is a prosecution witness, the prosecutor asked her, did you tell him no? And she said she did not tell him no, because she was afraid that if she did tell him live, that her life would basically be over in terms of her career and any future that she had. So she really felt like there were no options for her at this point. And then, she was in this situation for a number of times, and then also talking about what happened with, that she witnessed with Cassie, which was very, very sad, Natasha and Bianca.
All right, Lisa, let us know what is going on tomorrow, though, in this case.
Well, tomorrow she's going to be back on the stand. Tomorrow she's going to be subject to cross-examination. I'm sure there will be a lot coming from the attorneys for Diddy. What they are trying to prove is that everything is about consent, and that everybody involved in this case consented to whatever he did. A tough one to prove, but that's what they're going to aim to prove.
More shocking testimony today in the federal sex trafficking trial against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Fox 5's Richard Giacovis live outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan with a break of today's twists and turns. Richard.
Steve and Natasha, the drama continues as the third week of testimony in this trial has officially wrapped up, with Sean Combs' former assistant, a female assistant, finishing her cross-examination today on the stand, saying that a certain brain, her trauma brain, wins over her logic brain. Her words today. The former female assistant testifying under the pseudonym Mia has claimed she was physically and sexually abused by Combs. Today, Mia answered questions as to why she worked for Combs for so long and why she did things like make scrapbooks for his birthday despite the alleged abuse. Mia saying, I was young and manipulated and eager to survive. I'm unraveling a lot of this now in therapy. She also said she thought making Combs a scrapbook would make him happy. The assistant who worked under Combs for 8 years has testified that she was sexually assaulted by the rapper just a few months into her employment and multiple times throughout the years she worked for him. The defense attorney suggesting at least 3 times today that Mia was making up the sexual assault allegations, asking her, Mr. Combs never had unwanted, non-consensual, forcible sexual contact with you. Isn't that true? Mia answers, what I said in this courtroom is true. I have not lied to anyone at all. Mia will be back on the stand for more cross-examination on Monday morning. Meanwhile, making headlines outside of the courtroom today, President Donald Trump, who was asked by reporters in the Oval Office if he would ever consider pardoning Sean Diddy Combs, a former friend, he says, of his, the president saying he would have to look at the facts.